Hi everybody, welcome to TVSpy This Week. I'm Kevin Eck.
Hey, Stephanie Siegel. Our top three this week, we're going to start with K-A-R-K, Kark. So much easier that way. And their spectacular Facebook Live numbers.
Yes.
We are really hot on this.
Yeah, Mitch McCoy, one of their reporters, went out on Saturday and did two Facebook Live stories. In addition to his regular reporting, in the afternoon he did a tornado report. Facebook Live showed some pretty spectacular shots of the effects of a tornado. And then later that night he did a story on a police officer involved shooting, Facebook Live, and then he also, I think, did a live shot for the station.
Here's what stood out to me. The length of these Facebook Lives. One of them was about 25 minutes long, which is remarkable. And secondly, the numbers and the interaction from the viewers. So
on one he got 20, as of this recording, he has 21,000 views for the Facebook Live, which are pretty good numbers. I mean, here at Adweek, a video that gets 20,000 views.
Huge.
I think we consider that a success.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you, John?
Yeah.
That's John back there.
That's right.
So we had a lot of questions about this, which is why we decided to do an interview with him. So we're going to talk to Mitch. So my first question was to Kevin earlier, and then in our pre-interview was like, is there a strategy here on when to go live, when to break into programming, and when to use Facebook Live? But you're saying not really. It's kind of just a let's see what happens. When does it feel right? Is that what you guys go with?
It's just feeling it out and knowing, if we aren't on the air for 2 hours, or we're an hour past our show right now, how can we reach people? And right now, one of the best ways to do that is Facebook Live. You see Facebook push those through onto people's news feeds, and that's what Mitch did the other day to reach so many people is you had these key moments. We aren't on the air, so he goes and finds the audience, and that's where they were.
Where do you guys stand in the ratings?
Yeah, so we would be second in most shows, I think third in one, so kind of the middle of the market. So social is really important for us, in reaching more people and building that TV audience.
As reporters, we know what it's like to be in a breaking news situation. The adrenaline kicks in, you're out on the scene, the assignment desk sends you, and then you have to make a decision pretty quickly. Go live, shoot some B-roll, or in your case, just do a Facebook Live shot. How did you make that decision, and who did you call to get approval?
Well, I called our assignment desk, and I called the EP because I knew that this damage was bad. There were injuries from that. We got that confirmed through the sheriff's office. And after these storms came through, our meteorologist kept talking about power outages. So I thought, okay, this is a perfect opportunity to reach people who may not have power at that exact moment. And so being able to, have our backpack here, I told the assignment desk, I said, hey, I think this would be a good opportunity to just do a Facebook Live. Keep us rolling on both stations, KARK and Fox 16, and then be able to just have everything be raw. And we recorded everything raw, and then we were able to chop some stuff back up here at the station for the next day. But that was an opportunity to allow people to see things raw. And I kind of picked that up on Facebook. People love just seeing the raw moments, the unedited version of things, the first-hand accounts of what people were talking about and what people are seeing, and that was just the decision that we made out in the field. And I think it to this day it was a really good decision because so many people were talking.
You mentioned backpack, so for somebody like me, I'm wondering, are you carrying a lot of equipment around? Because I saw you do a Facebook Live with a phone, then we saw it where it looked like you had your photographer feeding into Facebook Live. So how are you guys doing this technically?
We, in most cases, we're doing it just on our phones. We did it on our backpack just because my phone was almost not charged until Austin. But we did it. We usually do them on our phones, and that is almost perfect because you can see the comments coming through, and people are asking you questions, and people are also even giving you tips about different stories and different things from that scene.
What would you say to people about how much time it takes to do this and whether it adds to or subtracts from your reporting?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times it's, and Mitch can speak to this, it's you're waiting at a scene. It's 30 minutes until you go live. The police aren't saying anything, and you're sitting there just waiting for that information. And so that's the opportunity to jump on Facebook Live and reach people. And as Mitch says, interact with the audience, and maybe you drive them to TV. But a lot of times that's when you're doing that.
Right. And I would say that during our tornado coverage up in Pulaski County, we did multiple things at the exact same time. We were grabbing our interviews and we were on Facebook Live. And I still, first and last name, please, can you spell that? And that was on Facebook Live. I mean, that's raw moments. People like that, I think, on Facebook. So, I mean, if you do it right, it doesn't have to be that much extra work. I mean, it really can be.
I see it as a time saver in some ways, because we were just talking about this. He's doing the Facebook Live, he's rolling in the field on everything, they're capturing it back at the station, so all of a sudden the producers are turning things for the morning show. Like, my brain is like exploding with like opportunities for content. Cynic. Okay, I have one more question. Yeah. All right, I have one more question for Mitch, and actually for Austin too. So Mitch, okay, so what job are you in right now?
Job number two. The next job.
Okay, so going live for 25 minutes is not easy. And typically, right, before the, not invention, that's not the right word, the implementation of Facebook Live into local news, live shots were what, 30 seconds in and out, a minute and 30 live shot? Like, how do you have the endurance to do 25 minutes? And Austin, are you having to train your reporters to do stuff like that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I think that what was different about, especially our tornado coverage, was the area was so large. And I was as on Facebook, I was mentioning, hey, this is all raw. I may not have anything to say at one point because we're walking, but being able to just describe what was happening, and we were getting new information, and I was looking at my phone and I was interviewing people. It was just describing what we were saying, and especially as that conversation gets started, that's when the root of that video is actually growing, because people are telling you different things about that area. People are pointing out different things. You have like reporters inside that Facebook video that's really tipping you off to certain things, and then all of a sudden we had somebody in our Facebook video during the tornado coverage say that was my father was in that mobile home. Well, hold on, let's start reaching out to that person.
Yeah, all of a sudden you have a tip or something. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and in terms of training, I mean, I wouldn't say you're training people to go longer. You're certainly encouraging it, though, because as Mitch mentioned, you build a bigger audience, and we found too, these longer videos, Facebook seems to read them a little better and push them into people's news feeds. The longer they are, the bigger reach that they have. So,
I love what you did, Mitch. Kudos to you for just being so incredibly comfortable on air. I think that as this industry evolves, there's more realness in reporting, and I loved that about what you did with that piece, quote if you will. And Austin, thanks guys, I think just for being here and hopefully inspiring some other reporters or stations to kind of get out there on social and do the same thing.
The second of our top stories here on TVSpy this week,
Yep.
Bob Maxon, who's the meteorologist for the NBC-owned station in Hartford, came back. Well, he was on a phoner this week with the morning crew, and he told them that, I guess last week, he probably had a heart attack while he was on the air.
By the way,
I went to urgent care and got the right care. And next, it's weird. You tell someone, I think I have the flu, and they hand you 5 baby aspirin, and you say, what does he know that I don't know? And it was pretty shocking. I've never had an ambulance ride in my life, but I got my first ambulance ride last Tuesday.
we were talking off air before this, and if you're watching, Bob, can we weigh in here? So Kevin assumes that if this were to be a heart attack, if you would have felt it.
Then it would take a major heart attack to pull an anchor off the air.
He thinks that you would have just kept on going. And my response
I'm not dead yet. Kind of like the funny
Mine is no, you would have tossed a commercial or made up some excuse to get the hell off air. But no, you don't think so.
Well, I think it depends. I think it depends on the severity of the heart attack. I think that, you're like athletes. You want to be on the playing field at all times.
Yes, and being that I've been on air, and I've actually had weird things happen to me on air. I had a panic attack once, which was so incredibly embarrassing.
Wow.
And there was nothing I could do about it, but it was just like a bad day, things had happened, a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I pushed through, but viewers could see. And then my bosses could see. And then you had to have a whole discussion about that. So my advice to anybody who has like a mishap on air, especially if it's live, is just simply say, back to you, or cut to commercial, or give your producer some sort of cue, like wrap it up.
Like, hey, I'm having trouble here.
I'm really curious to know what he felt. All right, our number 3 story, Raycom is launching an investigative unit.
It is. Raycom has 63 television stations in 42 markets in 20 states, according to their website.
Good facts, good facts.
Thank you very much. Yeah, right off the top of my computer screen.
Yeah.
This is big news because investigative units are making a comeback. I know when Valerie Staub took over the NBC-owned stations in the 2011s, one of the first things she did was to start putting investigative units back into the owned stations. A lot of other station groups have followed
We
suit.
got Scripps back in, 2012. I have a friend, Katie LeGrone, she's in Tampa.
Right.
She heads up that unit, so they made a big push.
Right. You mentioned Tegna,
yeah, well, Tegna's new digital initiative, they have a big push to do investigative stories.
Right.
Some of those stories have an investigative undertone, which I like. So I think it's important for journalism, for journalists to go beyond the basic facts, right? I mean, you're constantly turning stories that just like skim the surface. I think with the implementation of digital and the ability for, station groups to create stories on Facebook that live on their website, et cetera, it's going to give reporters more of a chance to really dive in.
Right. It lets local stations do what they do best, which is, hyper local stories that affect the people who watch the stations, and not just, like you said, skimming the surface of murders and accidents. This is going to be led by Lee Zurich.
We talked to him about this new initiative, and you'll hear that later in the show. And that is our
top 3. Movers.
Yeah.
So I have the first mover. Thank you. At Market 6 in San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose. Bruno Cohen, the GM at KPIX, the CBS-owned station there, is retiring later this year.
Yeah.
It's a big deal just because that's a fairly large market, and that's a kind of a big hole to fill.
And he's a personality there. People know him.
Yes.
Right.
He's been there a long time. He's been GM there since 2012, but he actually worked there initially. I think he started in '79, and then he bounced around. Well, bounced around is kind of a bad word. He didn't really bounce around. He went to work as news director at WNBC in New York.
Right, which happens.
He was a GM at WBBM in Chicago. He was also GM at KOVR in Sacramento.
And you worked at this station.
I did. I worked at KPIX for a short summer. I was a stage manager there for the morning.
You must have been ball of laughs.
I was a ball of something. Yeah. I don't think laughs,
Not laughs.
was the word we're looking for.
Kevin doesn't seem like a morning person. Are you?
No, not really.
Okay. Anywho. Okay, so I have something.
Great.
I have some job news. We just launched a new job list that lives on our website.
Nice.
And we just got a lead yesterday for an opening at KATC in
Lafayette, Louisiana.
Yep,
Yes.
That's exactly right. And it's an MMJ position. We have all the details about the specifics directly from the news director. So you can email me, Stephanie@realmediagroup.com. And if you're interested, it's market 124, good beginner market. We can submit you. So email me.
Nice.
That's it for movers, though, right?
That's it, yes.
That's it. Back to the top 3. We talked about Raycom.
Yes.
I teased this a little bit.
Yes.
But
Lee Zurich. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right.
yeah, it's a tough one. We get to that in the interview. But we're talking to him about Raycom's new investigative unit, so check it out. So Lee, thank you for being with us. Pronounce your last name for me.
Have you ever been to Switzerland?
I have been.
Okay,
Not
have you
just
been to
joking.
Zurich?
I haven't been.
You haven't been to Zurich?
No.
Okay. It's spelled differently, but pronounced the same.
Okay. Well, thank you for being
No
here.
problem.
Kevin and I were like going back and forth all morning over that. So first things first, really, I mean, congratulations, right? This is a really cool role to be in. You'll have a lot of freedom to tell really great stories, hopefully, to the masses, right?
Yeah, I mean, we will. We have, 42 Raycom stations in 20 states that will air our stories. So we will, we hope to put together high impact, important stories, universal stories that, apply and appeal to multiple markets and viewers in all of our local markets across the Raycom footprint.
Now that there's been sort of this resurgence over the past couple of years of investigative units, how heavily will this be focused on just broadcast quality stuff, meaning stuff on television, versus a digital component?
Mm-hmm. Each investigation, each story will have a digital component. We've even had that, locally here at WVUE where I work and will still work. All of our investigative stories have that digital component, and we hope we will bring that to these broadcast stories and this national platform, and hopefully enhance what we do even more as well too.
So, as most people know, you're based in New Orleans. You just told me before we started this call that you're going to be traveling, going where the story will go. Can viewers expect from Raycom stations to see stories from all across the nation, or will there be limitations to that?
I mean, there's no limitations in what we can do or where we can go, as long as it, impacts our viewers at our stations. And so, I mean, if we need to go to DC, 5, 10, 15 times a year, we will. If we need to go to New York, if we need to go to, rural Alabama, wherever we need to go, we're going to go to tell these stories.
Tell me why this is important, especially now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not only, I'll say that I don't think it's not only not important now, it's important always. One of the most important things we can do in journalism, really, I think in broadcast journalism, as far as safety, whether it's a tornado or, a hurricane coming, that's probably number one if we can help keep viewers safe. But after that, I would argue that, maybe watchdog and investigative reporting is the second most important thing that we can do as journalists. And so I'm extremely fortunate to work for a company that, is making a commitment to doing this on a larger scale right now.
Well, kudos to you. Kudos to Raycom. I think everybody at TVSpy, including myself, feels really passionate about this, and also just the ability to give people not only access to these sorts of stories on television, but also on their phones, mobile devices. And it's really inspiring to see the commitment to that watchdog journalism and, holding people credible. So thank you. And
thank you.
Good luck. And just one last thing, when can we expect some stories?
That's a great question. We got to fill a couple of openings right now.
Okay.
We're looking for an executive producer and a producer and likely an associate producer. So we'll fill those. And I have a list of ideas that I have that we can start looking into. So I would think later this year, you'll start seeing some of our work. Hopefully.
All right. Well, get busy.
I'm going to go back to work right now. I promise. Okay.
God. No. All right. Thank you so much, Lee. And
thank you. Good talking to you.
Congratulations.
So that's it for this week's show.
That's all, folks. That's all we got. Yeah.
We encourage you to leave comments on our Facebook page or on the TVSpy blog.
We like that. We like when you talk to us. And we will leave you with this. Real Media Group hosted their Ask a Reporter series this week with CBS North Carolina reporter Kelly Kennedy. Nice. And here are some tips. See ya. You can never get enough feedback, right? I mean, like, you're literally saying, well, I think they like my writing, because you'd never really know,
Yeah, no, I mean, you don't. I think I noticed my stories pretty much got totally rewritten when I started. And that was kind of coming out of college, and so I felt like, I mean, I hadn't had experience, but I felt like I am fresh out of learning, like, the right way of doing this, and then they changed everything. So it was definitely a learning curve of how does this place want me to write.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like sometimes I'll write it, and then it'll be too long, and I'll just have to kind of go through, look through stuff, see how I can either say it in a shorter way or cut down to sound bites. Sometimes I fall too in love with sound bites, and I need to just, like, make them shorter.